Cartman gets an anal probe. The original pilot for the episode was 28 minutes long, which can still be found online. Weight Game 4000. This episode was created using the same software that Jurassic Park used to animate dinosaurs. Volcano. Randy Marsh makes his first appearance in this episode, but is not revealed to be Stan's dad. Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. George Clooney played Stan's dog. He was a big fan of the show, but as the years went on, he fell out with the creators.
We kept tearing him apart all year, and I think he's kind of sick of it. So,
An elephant makes love to a pig. Cartman says he would never let a girl kick his ass, even though Wendy pretty much killed him in Breast Cancer Show Ever in season 12. Death. This episode, according to Trey Parker, was the model for the South Park movie. Pink eye. The fluid that turned Kenny into a zombie was originally Dr. Pepper, but the brand refused to be featured due to not wanting consumers to believe it can mortify you. Starvin' Marvin. Whenever the sports watch is seen, the time displayed is 4:20. Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. Mr. Mackey was based on Trey's school counselor, Mr. Lackey. Damien. Satan does not speak or interact with Damien, even though he is his son. Tom's rhinoplasty. The character Miss Ellen is actually based on Ellen DeGeneres, with Chef telling the boys about Miss Ellen being a lesbian, being a direct reference to Ellen DeGeneres coming out as a lesbian only a few months prior at the time. Mecha Streisand. The fight that Barbra Streisand and Robert Smith have is a parody of the movie Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1974. Cartman's mom is a dirty. Cartman is dressed as a kid from the hip-hop group Kid and Play, when he thinks he's African American. Terrence and Phillip in Not Without My Anus. In the Iranian market, South Park t-shirts can be seen. Cartman's mum is still a dirty. Comedy Central received a lot of hate mail and voice messages for airing Terrence and Phillip Not Without My Anus before this episode.
I've been waiting 4 weeks to see who the Cartman's father is.
Ike's Wee Wee. Majority of Ike's lines in this episode are the same as in Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. A chicken lover. Cartman was originally meant to be armed with a gun as a cop, but Comedy Central did not allow it. Conjoined fetus lady. This episode parodies Rocky IV heavily. The Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka. The frog can be found at Stark's Pond in Fractured Butthole. City on the Edge of Forever. The scary monster is voiced by Henry Winkler from Happy Days. Summer sucks. Mr. Garrison turns on the TV to find Sherry Lewis in Lamb Chop, based on a real kids show. Chef's Salty Chocolate Balls. Stephen Stotch is shown to be a movie projectionist in this episode. Chickenpox. The boys cross a railroad track to get to Kenny's house. Wrong side of the tracks is a common expression when referring to the poor area of a town. Robert Ebert should lay off the fatty foods. The Cheesy Poofs ad Cartman stars in is spoofing the Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial. Clubhouses. One of the teenage girls that Kenny finds wears a DVDA shirt. That's the name of Stone and Parker's band. Cow Days. Clyde appears in Running with the Bulls, being the only child participant. Chef Aid. Chef Aid was a plug for the South Park creators' album. They even made a music video for one of their songs called Kenny's Dead, about Kenny going on a massive bender to Las Vegas with his last quarter. Spooky Fish. The word red rum from The Shining can be seen scribbled along the back of the bus. Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson. A colour swap of Stan wearing clothes similar to Craig can be spotted in the mall. Holmes. Tweak's parents state he has ADHD, instead of ignoring the fact that it could just be how much coffee he consumes that makes him more irritable and distracted. Prehistoric Iceman.
I saw this in a movie once. The old cavemen get frozen, and then people discover them and make them their caveman friend.
The movie Stan is talking about is called Iceman. Rainforest Schmainforest. Jennifer Aniston voices Miss Stevens and can also be seen wearing her iconic cheerleading outfit from Friends when captured in the rainforest. Spontaneous combustion. It has been reported that in real life that 200 people have died from spontaneous combustion. Succubus. In the original promos, Miss Crabtree replaced Mr. Derp as the school chef. Jackosaurus. Kenny got taken away by the bear, but is not known if he in fact died in this episode. Tweak vs. Craig. Flashback sequences are a nod to RoboCops. Sexual harassment panda. This episode implies Principal Victoria is a murderer, even more heightened after she had no problem throwing Cartman under a bus and bass to mouth. Cat orgy. When Cartman snaps a photo of Shelley kissing, he shouts, "Haha, Gerard you are." This is a play on a lyric from the Pink Floyd song Pigs. Two guys naked in a hot tub. Trey Parker has indicated he is a little bit gay, so the story may not just be fiction.
It's like, are you gay? It's like, a little. On a Friday night, maybe.
Jubilee. Moses' design is almost identical to the Master Control from Tron. Korn's groovy pirate mystery. Cartman's mother receives an Antonio Banderas blow-up doll. This doll can be seen in many future episodes. Shin Pokemon. Trey Parker studied Japanese in college and speaks it fluently. All the Japanese with the exception of Garrison-san is correct.
What did he say?
Hooked on monkey phonics. The word Kyle had to spell at the spelling bee is not an actual word. Starvin' Marvin in Space. When Trey Parker and Matt Stone's band DVDA had an unreleased song called I Am Chewbacca, which plays during the end credits.
Don't know who I really am. I am Chewbacca. I am a Wookiee.
Red Badge of Gayness. This episode featured no female voices due to the tragic passing of Mary Kay, who voices all the women in South Park at the time. Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics. The design of the postman is taken from the 1970s Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Are You There, God? It's Me, Jesus. The title is a parody of the book Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. Worldwide Recorder Concert. This episode has an alternative title, The Brown Noise. The Two Fairy Tats. Loogie's speech about wanting everyone dead on the phone is just like Al Capone's speech in The Untouchables. Cartman's silly hate crime. Despite helping Cartman on his getaway, Kenny is not found guilty or thrown in jail too. Timmy 2000. Charlie Rose is featured in this episode, who has interviewed the creators multiple times. Quintuplets. In the original promo, the quintuplets did not have a Romanian accent. Cartman joins Nambla. Cartman's username is Big Boned, a reference to his belief that he is big boned, not fat. Cherokee hair tampons. Mr. Garrison uses Ethan F. Garrison as his pen name, even though his real first name is Herbert. Chef goes nanas. Parker and Stone rushed the ending so they could enjoy the fireworks on the 4th of July. Something you can do with your finger. Randy's dub voice when he smashed his head into the glass cabinet is Patrick Stewart's from Star Trek First Contact.
No! No!
Do the handicap go to hell? Conan O'Brien, who died in the South Park movie, can be seen in hell during the Luau song. Probably. Organist for the church is Schroeder from the Peanuts comics. 4th grade. The Geeks Room includes a toy Marklar from Starvin' Marvin in Space. Trapper Keeper. The scene where Karl was floating inside the Trapper Keeper is a homage to HAL 9000. Helen Keller the Musical. Karl is shown to have rhythm in the school play, despite in Rainforest Schmainforest he was mocked for not being able to keep up with the rest of the choir. Hip. Malcolm McDowell narrated the episode. He is most commonly known for playing Alex in A Clockwork Orange, which has been referenced heavily in the show. Fat Camp. Tom Green is Canadian but does not have a bouncing head when appears on the Howard Stern Show with Kenny. Wacky Molestation Adventure. Carl's Letter to Cuba is a shot-for-shot parody of the little girl's letter to Santa in The Year Without Santa Claus from 1974. A Very Crappy Christmas. A Brian Botano cutout can be seen when the boys visit Butters, who appeared in the Spirit of Christmas short. It hits the fan. This is the very first episode to be animated with Maya, rather than Power Animator. Maya has remained the show's animation style since. Cripple Fight. The Hawk, the piano player in Big Gay Al's house, is Mark Shaman. He was an integral part to the musical score for South Park movie. Super Best Friends. The Blaintology mass murder is in reference to the very tragic Jonestown cult murder, where 909 people died after drinking cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. Scott Tenorman Must Die. In the initial airing of this episode, Kenny laughs himself to death, but his ghost does not appear laughing afterwards. Terrence and Phillip Behind the Blow. Behind the Blow is a parody of VH1's Behind the Music. Cartman Land. Cartman complaining about the lines at the amusement park is a reference to the Grinch's Whose Celebration of Christmas speech. Proper condom use. Butters tells the girl to just leave while wearing a hockey mask.
Just walk away. You can put a stop to all this.
He is quoting Lord Humongous from Mad Max 1981. Towley. Comma Game Sphere is a parody of the Nintendo GameCube. The word Okama means gay, so it's called the Gay Game Sphere. Osama Bin Laden has farty pants. The song The Goat and Fleetwood Mac perform at the end of the episode is Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17. How to Eat With Your Butt. Trey used to draw the butt character long before South Park was on the air. The Entity. Bill Gates is seen with a bandage on his head. This is a result of being shot in the head in Bigger, Longer and Uncut. Here Comes the Neighborhood. Inside Will Smith's house there are fake movie posters, including the Nutty Nutty West, guys in dark suits and black sunglasses. Kenny dies. Cartman sings Heat of the Moment by Asia in the US government's House of Representatives. Butter's very own episode. Although this season did not have an Xmas themed episode, Jingle Bell Rock plays on the radio when Linda drives Butters to the river. Jared has AIDS. Jared has AIDS. 4 visitors can be seen in this episode. Did you spot them? Aspen. Stan's storyline about having beef with Tad is based on the movie Better Off Dead. Freak Strike. The creators wanted to rip on Maury Povich and his show due to the fact he pretends to have empathy for his guests, but really just exploits them and chucks money at them to make them feel better. Fun with Veal. One airing exists where when Cartman says me 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 me, Cartman's voice is unedited and sounds like Trey Parker.
Me.
Philip movie trailer. The game Red Dead Redemption has an achievement/trophy called Fighting Round the World, which is a reference to Russell Crowe's show from the episode, Professor Chaos. This episode marks Pip's final speaking role until he was killed off 8 years later in 201. Simpsons already did it. While the boys are building the snowman, Tweak voices concerns of the snowman coming to life and killing him.
Tweak, when has that ever happened except for that one time?
This is a callback to the animated short The Spirit of Christmas. Red Hot Catholic Love. Father Maxie making his way through the underground is from the Atari game Pitfall. Free hat. Kyle tells George Lucas, "There's still good in you, I know it." The same line would be used 3 years later in Revenge of the Sith when Padme is dying. Bebe's boobs destroy society. Wendy says she has not been hanging out with Stan for a while, foreshadowing the couple's breakup in Raisins. Child abduction is not funny. Whistling Willies is referred to as crusty crotches in this episode. A ladder to heaven. The McCormicks have a robot guard, which could have just been a funny gag, but it could also have been bought with Kenny's life insurance premium. The $500,000 they got from Cartman as compensation for Kenny dying in Cartman Land. Return of the Fellowship of the Ring. When the group of 6th graders first rise off to find the videotape, the story in the background reads Mordor's Doors, parodying the fictional Lord of the Rings land of Mordor. The Death Camp of Tolerance. In the promo images, the tolerance scenes were in colour, but in the episode, only the final scene taking place at the camp is in colour. Biggest douche in the universe. Trey Parker shares exactly the same birthday as John Edward, who the episode parodies, October 19th, 1969. My Future Self and Me. The scene in which Stan pretends to cut off his hand with a meat cleaver is based on a very similar moment in Harold and Maude. Red Sleigh Down. Karl and his parents appear at the lighting of the Christmas tree, despite being Jewish. Cancelled. This was originally intended to be the 100th episode of the series, but it wound up airing as the 97th instead, due to the creators having no other ideas. Crazy cripples. Many of the animators during the production for this episode said, "Dude, that is not cool," when talking to Matt and Trey. Toilet paper. The music and setting of the wiffle ball execution are the same as when Fredo is killed in The Godfather Part 2. I'm a little bit country. This is the 100th episode of the show, but Trey and Matt did nothing to celebrate this milestone. Trey says he thinks there was a cake. Fat Butt and Pancake Head.
Pancake Head came from, I think we were at a party and we met Ben Affleck, or we saw him, and he has a really, really flat face. It was remarkable.
His head does look like a pancake.
Little Crime Stoppers. In the club scene before the shooting, the crime boss says,
All right, so I have to start having the McCormicks make our meth again. And
referring to Kenny's parents, who are also seen in The Stick of Truth to have a meth lab in their garage. Red Man's Greed. Stan is talking to the casino owner and attempting to persuade him to not destroy the town by saying,
We grew up here. Our parents grew up here. We shop at that Walmart and eat at that Chili's.
However, the first time the town gets its Walmart is in the next season. In the episode, Something Walmart This Way Comes. South Park is gay. Crab People was an idea that the writers had joked about for some time, saying that if they ever didn't know how to resolve a story, they would just add in Crab People. Christian Rock Hard. Trey Parker and Matt Stone said they had full versions of all the songs Cartman sings. Grey Dawn. This episode was inspired by George Russell Weller, who in 2003 very tragically ran over and killed 10 people at a farmer's market in Santa Monica. Casa Bonita. Casa Bonita agreed to let the South Park creators use the restaurant in their show after they called the manager and told them it was their favorite childhood restaurant and wants to pay homage in the show. All about the Mormons. Trey and Matt explained their interest in Mormonism comes from growing up in Colorado and meeting many of them from neighboring Utah. Butt out. During the credits, there was a different special disclaimer shown for a moment for this episode. Raisins. Each one of the Raisin waitress girls were named just like a luxury automobile brand. Mercedes, Lexus, Porsche and Ferrari. It's Christmas in Canada. This is the first Christmas special not to feature any appearance or mention of Mr. Hanky. Good Times with Weapons. To mark the show's 10th season, a beat-em-up games was posted to the South Park websites based on the episode. Up the Down steroid. Cartman's shirt he wears for the Special Olympics is a stretched-out Kool-Aid Man, Passion of the Jew. Stan says that he saw the movie Basketball and demands the refund. Matt Stone and Trey Parker starred in Basketball in 1998. You got effed in the A. In the later episode Bloody Mary, Stan mentions that his father is a hypochondriac. This may explain why he was in hospital after being served. Awesome Mode. This episode holds the show record for being created in the shortest amount of time, taking only 3 days, which is even more impressive as the original idea was scrapped an Easter special about Lemmywinks. Meet the Jeffersons. A Mr. Hanky fountain can be seen in the hallway where Mr. Jefferson is chasing the boys. Goobacks. Jimbo is the only member of the audience at a redneck convention who objects to becoming gay, which is ironic because in the episode It Hits the Fan, it is implied that Jimbo is secretly gay. Douche and turd. The Stevie Nicks quote from Osama bin Laden as farty pants can be seen at the pizza headquarters. Something Walmart This Way Comes. The Heart of Walmart scene is a parody of the architect scene in The Matrix Reloaded. Preschool. A preschool version of Wendy is visible in the flashback. Quest for ratings. Matt Stone's dog Mr. Yes and Trey Parker's cat Jake can both be seen in close-up animals with a wide-angle lens. Stupid Spoiled Whore video playset. The scene of Mr. Slave stuffing Paris Hilton up his arse is a summer move for him in South Park The Stick of Truth. Cartman's incredible gift. Cartman and Karl's backyards are very different in this episode compared to other episodes. Woodland Critter Christmas. The mountain where the lion and its cubs live is identical to the Cave 13 from the episode Aspen. Mr. Garrison's fancy new vagina. Parker stated he was very close to quitting the show as he got too stressed due to this episode, and is considered to be one of the worst episodes there is. Die hippie die. This episode is the last time where Isaac Hayes recorded his dialogue as Chef. Irony is, the last line which he reads is, "I'm alive." Wing. There was absolutely no Chinese language used in this episode, and all we get to hear is actually just gibberish. Best friends forever. This episode is loosely based on the case of Terry Shavo. She died the day after this episode aired. The Losing Edge. We can see the number 13 on Kenny's baseball outfit. This could arguably suggest his incredible bad luck throughout the show. The death of Eric Cartman. If you reverse the frame when Butters is at the desk, you can see the list of Cartman's mistakes. Erection Day. This was based on Trey and Matt's idea of what could be the most embarrassing thing that could happen on stage, even worse than stage fright. 2 days before the day after tomorrow, Kenny was originally meant to be on the boat with Cartman and Stan, according to the promo images. Margarine. The old man who visits the Stotch house gives Butters' dad the same warning as Jude Crandall from Pet Sematary. In that movie, Judd famously warns the protagonist that sometimes dead is better. Follow that egg. Heidi and Cartman are partners in this episode, maybe foreshadowing the couple's relationship in season 20. Ginger Kids. This episode, according to Ed Sheeran, gave him a really difficult time.
Episode of South Park ruined my life.
Really?
No, I love South Park. I hope if I'm ever on South Park, I'm allowed to voice my character.
Trapped in the Closet. The daughter of the chairman of the Church of Scientology first learned about the Xenu story from watching this episode. She left the Church of Scientology shortly after and has become an outspoken critic of the organization. Free Will's the X. The idea for this episode started with Trey and Matt having a funny image in their head of a whale dead on the moon. They just had to write an idea around it to get to that ending. Bloody Mary. The leader at the front stand of Randy's Alcoholics Anonymous group is the same guy who was in charge of the weight loss camp in the season 4 episode Fat Camp. The Return of Chef. The actor who voiced Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace also voiced Darth Chef. Smug alert. Due to Chef's death in the previous episode, the Chef's band thanks credit was renamed Very Special Thanks. Cartoon Wars. Kyle's dream of Ike getting blown up by a nuclear bomb is a reference to Sarah Connor's nightmare in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Cartoon Wars Part 2. Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, admitted to seeing the episode, but said the show was written by sperm whales, not manatees. A Million Little Fibers. Even Trey Parker and Matt Stone admit to hating this episode because it was made very quickly and not enough time was focused on it. Man Bear Pig. In the disappearance of Dennis Martin in 1969, there have been witnesses who claim to have seen some man-bear pig-like creature abducting the child. The creators might have gotten inspiration from this story. Tist. Damien can be spotted in the Nanny video. Make Love, Not Warcraft. The character of He Who Has No Life is based on Joey Ray Hall, the former cinematic director of Blizzard. He worked with Matt and Trey on the episode, and they put him in the episode as the villain. Mystery of the Urinal Deuce. 911truth.org is a real website. Miss Teacher Bangs a Boy.
The idea of Cartman being Dog the Bounty Hunter was actually in the show before. It was actually in Mystery of the Urinal Deuce. And that whole show, the 9/11 conspiracy show, was Kyle at one point when he was blamed for 9/11, he went on the run, and then Cartman dressed up as Dog the Bounty Hunter and went after him. And
Hell on Earth 2006. This episode marks Satan's last appearance for 8 years, until the season 18 episode Freemium Isn't Free. Go God Go. Due to the plot element of Cartman's impatience for the release of the Wii, Nintendo gave Matt Stone and Trey Parker free Wii consoles as thanks for the episode. Go God Go 2. Cartman's robot dog and cat are named K10 and Kit 9. When the numbers are switched, this comes to K9 and Kit 10, or K9 and Kitten. Stanley's Cup. This is the only episode with Stan's name in the title. With apologies to Jesse Jackson, Trey Parker played Dr. David Nelson by inhaling helium. Cartman sucks. Bradley's appearance and mannerisms are modelled after Billy Bibbit in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Licecapades. Originally, the lice were not going to talk, but it ended up being too cute according to the creators, so decided to make it way more messed up. The Snook. The 24 team was so thrilled about being part of the show, they sent a suitcase nuke prop. Fantastic Easter special. Jesus throws a 5-bladed mythic weapon called a glaive from the 1983 movie Karl. D yikes. The street address for Lesbos is 13280. This spells out Lesbo on any calculator. Night of the Living Homeless. Cartman sings, "Right by Matt's house you can chill if you're homeless." This is referencing Matt Stone. La Petite Tourette. The Tourette Syndrome Association released a statement after the South Park episode where they complimented the show on being well researched and that it served as a clever device to get accurate information to the public. More crap. This is Trey Parker's father's favourite episode. Imagination Land was originally going to be the idea for a second South Park movie. Imagination Land Part 2. Cartman's revival of Kyle mirrors a scene from the movie The Abyss.
Now fight! 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 Right now!
In your life now, fight! Fight! Fight!
Imagination Land Part 3. Aslan's voiceover at the beginning of the episode is a shot-for-shot parody of a scene in The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Guitar Queero. Former Guitar Hero developer Harmonix added a song from the episode Timmy 2000 from Timmy's brief rock band career. The announcement was made nearly a week after the broadcast. The List. This episode has an alternative ending where Cartman is voted the ugliest boy. Tonsil trouble. Cartman is dressed like Tom Hanks' character in the movie Philadelphia, where the character is diagnosed with AIDS. Britney's new look. Paris Hilton is seen at the MTV Music Awards, which indicates she escaped Mr. Slave's arse by taking on a quest like Lemmywinks. Major boobage. The woman with huge tits is played by porn star Lisa Daniels. Canada on strike. Butter's song What in the Butt is a real viral video from 2008. Eek, a penis. Mr. Derb cameos in the background when Garrison returns, who was the new chef in the season 3 episode Succubus. Overlogging. When Randy searches up his wild porn videos, the sound used for Brazilian fart porn is from the real porn video. Super fun time. This episode was originally titled The Living Museum. The China Problem. The arcade game and the pinball machine contain references to Willow and Howard the Duck. Breast cancer show ever. The fight scene between Cartman and Wendy is inspired from the boxing match in the movie Snatch. Pandemic. The boys express reluctance to go to Peru because one of their friends had a very unfortunate incident there. Indiana Jones. Pandemic 2 The Startling was taking the piss out of the Cloverfield films with Randy's shaky camera POV. About Last Night. The episode uses quotes from Barack Obama and John McCain's Election Day speeches, both of which occurred approximately 23 hours before it aired. Elementary School Musical. There is an episode of The Simpsons that is also titled Elementary School Musical, which released 2 years after the South Park episode. The Ungroundable. Kenny survived the entirety of Season 12. The Ring. The Jonas Brothers admitted the purity rings were a lie from Disney. The Coon. The news clip about Mysterion is a reference to a real news report of a leprechaun sighting.
This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like.
It look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah?
To me, it looked like Mysterion to me. Everyone who see Mysterion say yeah! Yeah!
Margaritaville. This is the first time that the Marsh family mentioned Grandma Marsh, who later appears in You Have Zero Friends. Eat, Pray, Queef. The Queef 3 video is reminiscent of the We Are the World charity video. Fish Sticks. Comedy Central repeatedly aired the episode for 2 hours straight after Kanye West interrupted Taylor Swift's speech at the MTV Music Awards. Pinewood Derby. This episode was originally going to be an hour-long special about Randy finding a dinosaur fossil with a gun, leading him to the realization that dinosaurs had fought each other to extinction. Fat Beard. Much of the decor and music in the episode is influenced by the Pirates of the Caribbean theme park ride. Dead celebrities. Billy Mays' son, Billy Mays III, has said that he's a huge fan of South Park and was proud of the portrayal of his father in this episode, finding it tasteful and funny. Butter's Bottom Bitch. In the alley, the license plate on the man's car is Joe Mama, spelling your mama. WTF. The lead biker that appears in the later episode, the F word, is shown in the audience during the Took My Job speech. Whale Whores. Paul Watson, who the episode parodies,
said he got shot by the Japanese.
Got
Dude,
to go
if
on
you have
YouTube
not
and watch
seen this,
that.
you've got to see this. Because it's ridiculous. It's like He's just standing there, and suddenly he gets this, and the camera's like perfectly poised, and he turns to the camera and is like, "Oh, I've been shot." And they make this big thing. The captain's been shot, and it's like, you are lying. You're a liar, and you're totally lying.
The F word. The scene where the news reporter gets beaten up by the Harley Riders is a parody of an infamous Jim Rome interview in which he repeatedly referred to Jim Everett as Chris Everett.
I think that you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
Dances with Smurfs. At the start where Gordon dies, they actually animated the death scene, which was quickly declined by Comedy Central and was changed to just a voiceover and the class looking disturbed as it played on the teleprompter. P. The Minority song is one of Matt Stone's favourites throughout the whole show. Sexual healing. The poem being read at Kenny's funeral is called Crossing the Bar, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson in 1889. The tale of Scroty McBoogables. Caitlyn Jenner, then known as Bruce, expressed interest in going shopping for women's underwear. Jenner's gender transition was not publicly known at this time the episode aired.
Today, my sisters and I are gonna shop for underwear! Yay!
Can I go with you, girls?
So the creators arguably predicted it. Medicinal fried chicken. The scene with Randy attempting to put his balls in a wheelbarrow was acted out by Trey using a large yoga ball. The animators took this video and animated it frame for frame. You Have Zero Friends. Kip Georgie has a real Facebook page set up by the South Park Studios team. 200. A cake for the episode was made to celebrate the show's milestone of 200 episodes. But this time they remembered it. 201. The Simpsons episode The Squirt and the Whale. The chalkboard gag is South Park we'd stand beside if we weren't so scared, due to the threat Trey and Matt received for the episode. Crippled Summer. The idea of the tally intervention involving the boys dates back to around season 10, which ultimately became A Million Little Fibers. Poor and stupid. Memory loss is not a real side effect of Vagisil. It's a Jersey thing. The original title for this episode was It Came From Jersey. In Sheepshan. Mr. Mackey's unfortunate encounter with Woodsy Owl is a reference to a real scandal involving Woodsy Owl. Coon 2 Hindsight. Clyde Frog can be seen wearing a coon mask when the coon is talking to Mintberry Crunch. Mysterion Rises. Cthulhu is a fictional cosmic entity created by writer H.P. Lovecraft and is first introduced in the short story The Call of Cthulhu. Coon vs. Coon and Friends. This episode ties with Pink Eye for the most times Kenny dies in a single episode. Creme Fraiche. The real Gordon Ramsay has met the South Park creators who Cartman parodies in the episode. Human Sentai Pad. This was the episode being created in the South Park doc 6 Days to Air. Funny Bot.
And the original idea of it was going to be that Jimmy got invited to this big stand-up comedy festival in Japan. And that it turns out all the Japanese were just inviting people there because they were going to put it up against their Funny Bot. And Funny Bot was this like giant robot like the size of a skyscraper that ended up destroying Tokyo.
Royal Pudding. When Ike is searching in his closet for his box of faith, a pirate hat is seen on his lamp, referencing the episode Fat Beard. TMI. The creators advise people in the commentary to just watch the first half and that it goes downhill after that. Crack Baby Athletic Association. The University of Colorado of Boulder appears in this episode. This is where Trey Parker and Matt Stone met. City Sushi. The end monologue to this episode is a reference to the 1968 film Psycho.
She wouldn't even harm a fly.
He wouldn't even harm a fly.
You're Getting Old. The impactful end song Landslide was approved moments before airing. Arsburgers. The end of this episode implies every time Stan meets up with his friends, he's a fully functional alcoholic at 10 years old. The Last of the Mohicans. Mantequilla, Butter's Mexican name, is Spanish for butter. Bass to Mouth. The fight between Lemmywinks and WikiLeaks fighting is a rotoscoped animation of real footage of two squirrels fighting. Broadway Bro Down. This episode was written by Trey Parker and Robert Lopez, who also wrote Book of Mormon alongside Parker. The 1%. The original idea for this episode was Cartman had a heart attack at school due to his poor health, and it affects the remaining 99% of students. A History Channel Thanksgiving. The line, "He who controls the stuffing controls the universe," is a reference to Frank Herbert's June. The Poor Kid. This is the first episode since Chickenpox that Kevin McCormick has a speaking role. Reverse Cowgirl. The framed picture in Clyde's bathroom is the same one that was on the shirt Gerald Broflowski was wearing in Mr. Garrison's Fancy New Vagina. Cash for Gold. A squirrel wearing a black top hat and bow can be spotted running behind a bench during Stan and his grandpa's talk. Faith Hilling. Mr. Kitty has undergone a redesign for this episode. Chupacabra. The water slide Cartman goes through is based on two real slides called the Serpent Slide and the Leap of Faith, our water park called Atlantis in the Bahamas. Butterballs. The three singers during the Jackin' It in San Diego song with Stan parody the Kingston Trio, a band from the late 50s. I should have never gone ziplining. The mode of transports Mr. Hanky uses to get the boys home safely are transport spaces in South Park Monopoly. Cartman finds love. Cartman is such an obvious stalker that even the caricature artist added him in the pic. Sarcastiball. Butter's creamy goo can be collected in the South Park Fractured Butthole. Raising the bar. This episode won an Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program. Insecurity. The episode's idea came from the Stick of Truth, where the player would have to confront home security systems as they entered people's houses in the town. Going native. Trey Parker impersonated Elvis a long time before this episode, as a video surfaced of him impersonating the star during his college days. A Nightmare on FaceTime. Butters dressed up as a leprechaun was a scrapped idea for the Imagination Land trilogy. A Scouse for Applause. The episode plays heavily on the craze of the Livestrong bands during the early 2000s. Obama wins. When Butters is hospitalized, his impaired speech is similar to Kenny's muffled speech. However, the boys can understand Kenny, but not Butters. Let Go, Let Gov. This is the first episode to feature the 3D animated intro, which is still the intro to this day. Informative murder porn.
When in this episode, when Cartman says "Boo Wendy" and "Boo Ben," that's based on this thing called, is it Ben Knopf?
Yeah, Boo Ben Knopf.
Boo Ben Knopf. He's like a mayoral candidate in Cleveland. It's a great YouTube.
Yeah, Boo Ben Knopf.
We grew up on down the street.
Boo Wendy, take a burger. Boo. Boo Wendy.
World War Zimmerman. Originally, Tolkien was going to be permanently killed off in this episode, but Matt and Trey like him too much as a character. Goth Kids 3, Dawn of the Posers. This is the only episode in South Park history which didn't hit the 6 days to air deadline, due to a power outage which delayed the episode by a week. Taming Strange. Much time was spent during the production cycle by Matt Stone and Bill Hader educating Trey Parker about Yo Gabba Gabba. Ginger Cow. The French newspaper featuring the picture of Cartman and the cow translates to a young chubby boy from Colorado, United States, found a ginger cow Sunday. Black Friday. When Cartman is meeting with Princess Kenny, in Kenny's backyard there is a small princess doll. This was the same doll carried around by Karen McCormick in the season 15 finale, The Poor Kid. A song of Arson Fire. Originally, Kenny was going to recruit the Underpants Gnomes to help him in battle, instead of becoming Princess Kenny. Titties and Dragons. One of the bodies near the cash register at EV Games has a Guitar Hero controller piercing his neck. The Hobbit. This episode was inspired by Trey's friend who recently had a baby, got right back into shape, but then kept comparing herself to celebs like Kim Kardashian.
It was like, oh my God, look, she looks amazing. Like, I'm trying really hard and I can't look like that. And I'm like, well, she doesn't look like that either. That's Photoshop.
Yeah, look what Peter Jackson does with those movies. Who's that actor that plays the Hobbit? He's not little like that. They just make him little using
it's
those
like the
little
push of a button.
fucking Photoshop and stuff. It's all lies.
Yeah.
It's all falseness and lies.
Go fund yourself. There is a newspaper with references to the next 2 episodes. The first says Ebola deaths keep rising, and the second says controversy strikes pop world, referencing Lord. Gluten-free Ebola. The real founder of Papa John's, John Schnattner, can be seen by the window and registers when Randy is locked in. The Sissy. The artist Sia provided the voice for Lord, with creators crediting how amazing her voice was when she sang the song Push.
One of the writers in the room was just like, oh, I know her. And we're like, what? He texted her right there at the table. Sia actually came to the offices here. I wrote the song for her to sing, and she was, in the studio and just belted it out and did awesome, and got to actually meet her. It was really cool.
She had a great voice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Handy car. At the end of the episode, when Nathan is speaking to his mother, in the background is a Looney Tunes poster with 2 Looney Tunes characters, Rocky and Muggsy, who Nathan and Mimsy appear to be based on. The Magic Bush. Steven Stotch's middle name is revealed to be Willis. Freemium isn't free. At the end of the episode, Stan and his grandpa are playing board games to distract themselves from their addictions. In the episode Broad Girls, Stan casually shows off his vast knowledge of board games, meaning he's still addicted to gaming. Grounded Vindaloop. Trey and Matt admitted it was really difficult coming to a conclusion for the ending, and lost track of what was real and what was virtual reality. Cock Magic. In 1997, South Park did a bumper commercial for Magic the Gathering, where Kenny said that it sounded effing gay.
The Gathering, the trading card game of strategy and imagination.
Rehash. PewDiePie recorded his lines while he had severe flu in Japan and was almost kicked out of his hotel for shouting. Happy Holograms. Save the Living Room was trending worldwide on Twitter after the episode due to the message that no one watches TV as a family anymore. Season 19, Stunning and Brave.
We're like, it'd be pretty funny, a PC person coming in and seeing this old, outdated show and being like, why is this still on air? You know what I mean? And like they come in and yell at us, and we all laughed at the name PC Principal. So we're like, all right, yeah, PC Principal, that's a sweet character.
Where My Country Gone? Big wall that blocks Canada is featured in The Fractured Butthole. City Par Town. Trey Parker's inspiration for the voiceover in the Soda Soper commercials was businessman Steve Wynn, who did a similar voiceover for Las Vegas hotels.
Who I guess got directed to get as close on the mic as possible and talk really quietly. First he starts off like, well, are you in the mood for some food? Well, get on downstairs. And then it gets even worse to where it's just like, then it starts to cut to like the nightlife, and it's like, well, maybe you're looking for some nightlife. It's like you can barely hear what he's saying. It's just like, it's so funny and so like I had a great time just doing that and getting up on the mic.
You're not yelping. Trey and Matt had the song before any of the rest of the episode, Safe Space. Randy Marsh is one of the users who trolled Cartman's body shape on Twitter, despite he is later with Cartman in the Shameless America campaign and is very PC. TweakX Craig. Many of the Yowie pictures seen in the episode were drawn and submitted by South Park fans. Naughty Ninjas. Officer Bar Brady has a newspaper clipping from the episode Chicken Lover. Sponsored content. Nathan says, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, referencing the last line in the 1942 movie Casablanca. Truth and advertising. In the school newspaper room, an autographed picture of Larry King can be seen on top of the bookcase. PC Principal, The Final Justice. This is the first episode to have Betty Boogie Parker as part of the voice cast, Trey Parker's daughter. Season 20, Member Berries.
We always had this side project, kind of like, Book of Mormon was a side project for many years. We didn't know if it was going to be a movie or a music, whatever it would become, we didn't know. But we would get together a lot and talk about this idea of a troll, a guy who was a horrible internet troll at night, but during the day was like a totally nice family man who was hiding his identity as an internet troll.
Skank Hunt. A deleted storyboard shows the girls discovering that the troll was not actually Cartman, as they originally suspected, but deciding to still go through with their plan anyway. The Damned. The scene where Randy visits Hillvale Farms and talks to the old farmer was cut short. The full-length version has the old farmer saying how he thinks the member berries were trying to throw the outcome of the election, which causes Randy to understand why the election is the way it is. Wiener's out. The CEO of Troll Tracer's last name, Bedrager, means deceiver or fraud in Danish. Douche in Danish. When the trolls log in online, it's a parody of Star Wars pilots checking in. Fort Collins. In this episode, Randy was unsuccessfully trying to destroy the member berries. However, in Wiener's Out, Michael killed one of them in his pocket. Oh geez. The episode was originally titled The Very First Gentleman and was produced with the assumption Hillary Clinton would win. Members only. Elon Musk, who is a fan of the show, voiced himself in this episode. He was previously voiced by Matt Stone in Handycar. Not funny. This marks the first time Mr. Garrison and Mr. Slave have spoken to each other since Follow That Egg. End of serialization as we know it. Trey and Matt described this season as a nightmare and the hardest season they ever had to do.
Definitely the hardest season physically and just mentally to figure out how to make this stuff funny, and some of the choices we made we had to stick with, and all that was, I don't know, that was really tough.
I think I can agree with a lot of fans where I'm just excited to get back to a lot of Osimo and Christmas Critters. That's what I'm looking forward to.
White people renovating houses. After the airing of this episode, Amazon Echo devices were patched to respond, I don't think so, ... When owners provided certain commands from the episodes, put it down. According to the original storyboards, the kid hit by the car was originally going to be Kenny instead of Gary. Holiday Special. This episode went through 3 different title changes. Titles were Drunken Indigenous, Completely Self-Indigenous, and Indigenous Peoples. Franchise prequel. Zuckerberg's dialogue is in the dub style of 1970s kung fu movies. Hummels and Heroin. In Marvin Marsh's room, there's a picture of him and his now deceased border collie, Patches. Sons of Witches. Trey Parker states in the season 21 commentary that this is his favorite episode in the last 5 years. Doubling Down. The first part of the scene when Karl talks to the girls is derived from a deleted scene from the season 20 episode Wiener's Out. Moss Piglets. In the episode preview, the scene where Nathan and Mimsy warned the girls about the science fair, Wendy was featured. However, for some unknown reason, she was replaced by Nellie when aired. Super Hard PC-ness. The Canadian Minister of Movies from South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut reappears, now called the Canadian Minister of Streaming. Splatty Tomato. Officer Bar Brady can be seen among the crowd at the very end of the episode, wearing his police attire, possibly meaning he was reinstated as police officer since PC Principal Final Justice. dead kids. Q, the winner of an Omaze campaign to appear in a South Park episode, appears in the background of this episode in the school hall. A boy and a priest, Stan is wearing a sling in this episode. At the end of the previous episode, Sharon gets a call that her son has been shot in a school shooting. The problem with Apu. Cancel the Simpsons hashtag was used at the end instead of the cancel South Park hashtag, used in the end credits of the 2 previous episodes, taking the piss out of people that start hashtags to try cancel whatever they want. Integrity Farms. Whenever someone tries on the hemp hat, 2 Princes by the Spin Doctors plays. The Scoots. Despite both existing since the show's first season, this episode marks the first time in the series where Kenny and Wendy have major interaction with each other. Time to get cereal. Ned Gablansky receives his first speaking role in an episode since season 5's Here Comes the Neighborhood, which aired about 17 years prior to this episode. Nobody's got cereal. The fight between Satan and Man Bear Pig is identical to the fight in the Hulk film, Buddha Box. The PC babies crying at the teacher holding a copy of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a reference to some school districts banning the book due to its language and discussion of race that millennials have deemed offensive. Unfulfilled. Cartman references how plots in later seasons have moved away from the main 4 boys. Bike Parade. The show for season 22 had a marketing campaign with a hashtag saying cancel South Park. The creators said it was nice to bring the whole season back to that, and the boys cancelled the bike parade for their own selfish reasons, with them saying, why does everything seem to get cancelled and we can't seem to do it? Season 23, Mexican Joker. In Ginger Cow, Kyle says that he does not speak Hebrew. However, he is seen reciting Hebrew passages to the children in the camp. Banned in China. At the beginning of the episode, there is a couple that looks exactly like PC Principal and Strongwoman. The appearance is almost identical, the only difference is the colour. Shots. In this episode, Randy and Leanne interact for the first time. Let Them Eat Goo. The scene used for the promotional image for this episode, where Carmen is talking to the kneeling goo man next to the boys, was cut in the actual episode. Integrity Farms Halloween Special. Some fans think the Mummy storyline about a toxic relationship may reflect Trey Parker's actual divorce going on at the time. Season Finale. Mayor McDaniel says Randy killed 1,000 cows, when in fact the rancher only dropped off 300. Broad Girls. PC Principal's first name is revealed to be Peter Charles when he sees a news article about himself on his phone. Turd Burglars. Spice Melange and the Spice is a reference to Dune. Kyle's eyes even change colour to a glowing blue, a side effect from taking the spice in the Dune films. Basic Cable. It was revealed in this episode that the Terrence and Phillips show has 23 seasons, which is exactly the same number of seasons that South Park has at the time this episode aired. Christmas Snow. One of the promo images depicts Santa standing with the boys in front of his sleigh, implying they would have a large role in the episode. In the actual episode, the boys only appear in a few short scenes and do not directly interact with Santa. Season 24 is a strange one, as it's not really a season, it's 2 pandemic specials. This is when COVID hit and South Park Studios had to shut production on episodes due to the stay-at-home restrictions and couldn't work from their offices based in Santa Monica. They realised there's no way they can produce a whole new season from home, but what they could do is make a special, an hour-long episode, which actually took them 12 weeks to make instead of 6 days, due to navigating how to make the episode from home. This was the beginning of South Park's trajectory to longer form content, rather than episodic format. Season 24, The Pandemic. The disclaimer at the beginning of the episode is altered to replace due to its content with due to COVID-19. South Park Q Vaccination Special. Matt Stone and Trey Parker appear as Hollywood elites on Robert White's wall. Post-COVID, Victor Chaos's cell number is 4100266, a reference to the season 6 episode Professor Chaos. Post-COVID, The Return of COVID. Shelley Marsh appears without her braces and headgear, yet speaks with a lisp. This is common with people who have their braces removed. Season 25 Pajama Day. Karen, Kenny's sister, is seen at South Park Elementary for the first time. The Big Fix. Cartman was listening to the Canada on Strike song on his television. City People. The last scene where Carmen and Leanne lose their house and are forced to move into a small and filthy hot dog stand alludes to the future at the end of South Park post-COVID, The Return of COVID, where Cartman will end up homeless, a fate that Leanne was telling Cartman about if he continued to sabotage her. Back to the Cold War. The front page of the newspaper, retrieved by Mr. Mackey, contains many headlines that reference the storyline of the events of Season 19, such as reality being in South Park from Safe Space and the school hiring a new principal. Help, My Teenager Hates Me. This episode most likely is referencing Matt Stone trying to connect with his own kids as teenagers. As he said, his kids think he's the biggest dork. Cedric Weed, St. Patrick's Day. The episode reuses some of the background music composed for South Park The Stick of Truth. Cupid Yee. Kyle and Tolkien have a real TikTok page with over 1 million followers, even though only one vid has ever been posted. Worldwide Privacy Tour. All the magazines on Kyle's door are real magazines from Meghan Markle. No exaggeration. Japanese Toilet. The song that plays when Randy sits on the Japanese toilet has 300k views on YouTube. It's just some random instrumental which was posted months before the episode aired. The line Randy says, "Well, I did just have a big breakfast," is quoted a lot in the comments for the video too. Deep Learning, Trey Parker and ChatGPT are credited as the writers of this episode. Dick and Balls. The title was initially The Kimball's Hot Dogs, before changing it to the current title shortly before airing of the episode, Dick and Balls. Spring Break. Andrew Tate, after the episode aired, said, "I can't believe I met my hero, Randy Marsh." The Streaming Wars. Cartman demonstrating that hairspray sets on fire is a reference to South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut, with Kenny using his matches and setting up his fart on fire. The Streaming Wars Part 2. Karen Randy is most likely referencing the person who tries to outbid Matt and Trey for Cas Bonita. You know what, I'm going to take credit for discovering this one. Check out my vid for the full story. Joining the Pandaverse. Pandaverse Kenny bears a similar resemblance to Go Go to Mango from Big Hero 6. Not suitable for children. When Randy appears in a cameo commenting on his own video, he says "Oishi," Japanese for "it's delicious." According to the behind the scenes footage, Kenny was meant to survive the special, as was seen in the cafeteria at the end with the boys. Subscribe for more South Park.